time to review this week's chapters, but before I begin, let me just tell you, I'll be reviewing chapter 522 and chapter 523 separately, so whenever this video comes out, the review for the next chapter will come out shortly after. Alright, with that said, let's get started. Chapter 522, Grey's Trump Card. This chapter was pretty good. I mean, I didn't expect much from Zeref and Grey, but seeing as it was mostly dialogues between the two, I think it turned out alright. So it starts with Zeref actually showing off his knowledge about Grey and that he's Natsu's friend, as well as knowing just how his parents were killed and how his master gave her life to defeat the demon responsible. And Zeref then tells himself that Grey must surely hate him for this. When Grey brings up the fact that Zeref knows quite a bit about the people he's not interested in, Zeref simply responds by telling Grey he knows his enemies well. To show this off even further, he explains how Lucy is actually the descendant of Zeref's friend Anna, and how Happy is Natsu's closest friend, and even Ursa, Wendy and Gajil are brought up, as he says something like he knows every major opponent of his. Interestingly, after this, Zeref goes on to tell Grey that he's after Fairyheart, and even goes as far as to ask Grey if he would join forces with Zeref if it were to kill Acnologia. Quite a bold question for someone who created demons responsible for killing Grey's family, I'd say, but yeah. Anyway, so Grey of course refuses this, and Zeref goes on to talk about how his goal isn't so insignificant and stuff. And then it actually cuts off to Gildarts and August. So we see Gildarts not having the greatest time dealing with August. Gildarts even goes as far as to remove his cape. I mean, you know, when someone removes their cape, they mean serious business. Despite that though, he's missing every single blow, but his disassembly magic hits his mark, but August actually takes advantage of this and calls Gildarts' magic amusing. Gildarts is quickly overwhelmed by the power of August. One blow to Gildarts is enough to display the difference between the two. And with Gildarts down, we see some playing cards intervene in the battle, and that is of course the work of Kana, Gildarts' daughter. And she tells her old man that making the impossible possible is his specialty, and that's when Gildarts almost panics and tells Kana to get away, and August cracks a smile at the fact that Kana and Gildarts are father and daughter. That's when it cuts back to Zeref and Grey, and I'll be honest, I'm quite curious as to what's gonna happen to Kana at this time, given the smile August had on his face when finding out their family. Maybe we'll get some weird August is Gildarts' father shit. I hope not, but I wouldn't be too surprised at this point. So yeah, when it cuts back to Zeref and Grey, we see Grey surprised at something, but we don't know quite what it is, seeing as it was said while we were cut off to Gildarts. Another mystery for the time being to add to the huge piles of fairy tale mysteries, I guess. So Zeref laughs at the idea that Natsu will actually be coming to the guild hall, but before he does, Grey will already be dead on the ground, and he tells Grey that seeing his friend dead on the floor will trigger the power inside of Natsu. He's probably talking about E.N.D. or just Natsu's hidden potential, I'm not quite sure. I mean, we still don't know the situation with E.N.D, so it's between those two, I'd say. I'm guessing on Natsu's hidden potential in all honesty though, seeing as Natsu is Natsu right now, as said by Grey. Grey responds by explaining to Zeref that when Natsu comes, the one and not remaining will be Zeref, and he chants on about his parents and all of that which happened due to Zeref. He goes on to talk about the fact that he blamed E.N.D for so long, but now that he knows it's Natsu, he can no longer do that, because the Natsu before him is Natsu and not E.N.D. And that's when the highlight of this chapter takes root, as Grey starts to light up and prepares his trump card against Zeref. As many may have guessed, Grey is indeed intending to use Iced Shell, but not just any old iced shell. This one is called Lost Iced Shell, which is a lost magic according to Zeref. And Grey explains that this one is many times stronger than the normal iced shell, but the price to pay is quite big. If he does seal Zeref, he has to turn his body and memories into magic, and that's when the chapter ends. The next chapter is called Is Fate Burning, and will be coming out very shortly after this review. It may even be out by the time you're listening to this. So this chapter, well, I liked it, not gonna lie, but I feel as if they could have made more with the Gildarts bit and less with the Grey and Zeref bit. Not hating on Grey or anything, I like Grey, but Gildarts versus August was so hyped, so it would have been cool if they had actually dragged it out a bit. I mean, I don't think the battle is done by any means, but it was very quickly displayed when we got to see Gildarts overwhelmed. Maybe it's just me, but a better balance would have been great. But other than that, I see nothing wrong with this chapter. I mean, it's not a 10 out of 10, but it's still a perfectly fine chapter. Gray wanting to sacrifice himself for his loved ones, I mean, it's very him, isn't it? Well, I'll probably not say much more about this chapter, as I'll be jumping into the next review right away, which I'll probably have a lot more to talk about. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, I'll be wrapping up the video here. Let me know what you guys think down below. What did you think about chapter 522, Gray's trump card? And if you did, please like this video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to my channel. See you soon.